Marcus Rashford is on fire this season. A year ago, it seemed like he was about to leave the Red Devils after a terrible season. The fans even were in doubt about if they wanted him to stay or not. In today's episode, we'll take you through Rashford's journey from upcoming star to ice cold and to burning hot again in Manchester United. And it goes to show that Rashford is quite complicated a character. More on this later in the video. There were certainly questions whether United was going to keep Marcus Rashford or not last summer. The 21-22 season was not easy at all for the attacker. After missing the penalty in the shootout for England against Italy in the Euros final, Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Bukayo Saka all got a lot of abuse in social media. The police even had to arrest people for racism on Twitter following the events. And in contrast to Erik Ten Hag's United, the club was not prepared to handle the situation back in 2021. As we mentioned earlier on this channel, Ten Hag planned in detail how to deal with the players returning from the World Cup. Naturally, with different experiences in the tournament. Some would be very disappointed and some would be celebrating, like Varane and Martinez, who had completely opposite experiences in Qatar. However, all United players that played at the World Cup did hit the ground running when they got back to Manchester. In comparison, back in 2021, that wasn't the case for Marcus Rashford at all. He had a hard time after the Euros and was sidelined for several weeks at the start of the season due to a shoulder operation. This went on to become Rashford's worst season, and there are several reasons for that. But first, let's look at what took him from a promising youngster to become Manchester United's new superstar. Marcus is the youngest of 5 siblings. Already at the age of 5, he joined Fletcher Moss Rangers, a club known for being a local talent factory, where multiple United players have started their careers. Rashford got attention already at the age of 6 because of his early developed skills and tricks. One of his coaches at the time had said that United knew his name already at the time. He got to play a trial game only a kilometer away from Old Trafford, and crowned the opportunity by chipping the goalkeeper in a tiny goal. Neither the coaches or the audience could believe their eyes. No wonder United decided to pick up 8-year-old Marcus Rashford to their academy the same year. Also, Manchester City showed their interest several times in his childhood. When Rashford was 14, 6 club representatives from City showed up in luxury cars to visit him and his family. They even came twice to visit him and gave him an offer that would have changed the family's life forever. But both times Rashford turned City down. His only desire was to play for Manchester United. The kind of stories fans love to hear. However, the admiration from the blue part of Manchester has never faded. In 2018, Pep Guardiola allegedly told United legend Ryan Giggs that the only United player he would have started in his prime City team was Marcus Rashford. In his teenage years, Rashford struggled with finishing the chances he got in the box. This frustrated him, and he used a lot of his time watching videos of United legend Ruud van Nistelrooy, studying his movements and positioning in the penalty area. Funny enough, one of Rashford's most impressive performances came in Eindhoven, right in front of Van Nistelrooy's very eyes. 17-year-old Rashford was selected to play for United's under-19 team in UEFA Youth League against PSV. He became the man of the match in a 3-0 win, and even scored 2 goals. His brothers and agents helped him a lot in that season, setting new goals for him to reach every month. His development skyrocketed, and he got called up to train with first team under Louis van Gaal. In a European game against Midtjylland, Anthony Martial got injured in the warm-up to the game, and out of nowhere, Marcus Rashford got his first start for Manchester United. 2 goals in his debut was a dream come true for him and his family. We're sure all United fans remember the thrill of his goals home against Arsenal and away against Manchester City in his first season. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of the new superstar, which must have been strange and difficult for his family. His life got turned upside down in a couple of weeks. However, the next few years became a roller coaster for Rashford. Many who know him would say that he needed stability to develop further, and being a United player was not the best recipe for stability. The constant change of managers, style, tactics, and even teammates contributed to a downward period for him, and it seemed like he lost some of his magic. And even if Rashford kept performing in moments, the stability still lacked. He mostly achieved great results outside the pitch. In 2019, almost all the sponsors wanted him to use his voice to market their brands, but Rashford chose charity. That choice gave him and the organizations he worked with huge positive attention. He became the main ambassador for the In the Box campaign, which worked for giving homeless people in Manchester necessary help during the winter. In 2020, during the pandemic, Rashford started to work with Fair Share, a charity organization that tried to provide food for school children that didn't get free school meals when schools were closed. He followed up with an open letter to the British government, where he challenged them to fight child poverty, which actually led Boris Johnson's government to a turnaround in the case. Rashford got well-deserved praise for his effort. When the fans couldn't attend Premier League games in 2020, a lot of fans from other clubs chose to thank him with videos they had produced themselves and paid to get played on big screens in the stadium. Even Liverpool fans paid their tribute to Rashford with their own video of gratitude. Although Rashford had started to become the perfect role model that a lot of people could identify themselves with, the attention started to negatively affect the very thing that made him a superstar in the first place: his football performances. After a disappointing Euros in 2021, injuries and lack of form led to a period of 16 months without any caps for the national team for Rashford. He missed 15 international games in the period, but barely managed to get included in the World Cup squad for England. So what did go on in Rashford's life during those 16 months? Several sources close to the United dressing room described this as a very complicated and hard time for the player and the human being that is Marcus Rashford. The injury and disappointment after the Euros final was bad enough, but the obvious lack of leaders in the United dressing room didn't help either. Apparently, players like Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba did influence him negatively. Rashford did great outside the pitch, but seemed at a loss on the pitch, and some would claim that he has to take a good part of the blame for that himself. The media got leaks that he started to act moody, and that he didn't seem as humble anymore. The leaks also claimed he had started to drain energy from the group, rather than adding energy the way he did earlier. Other leaks claimed that he worked harder than ever with a lot of individual training in his worst period, but it seemed that this was only an attempt from his PR team to paint a falsely positive picture of Rashford. This later became more of a burden, with expectations that he couldn't live up to. The club even got worried about his lifestyle at some point. When Rashford returned to preseason last summer, there was a lot of insecurity surrounding him. He had just finished his worst season ever in a team who had greatly underperformed with Ralf Rangnick as interim manager. The transfer rumors about PSG didn't stop, and the fans were divided in their opinions about Rashford. So what changed when the new manager Erik Ten Hag entered the red part of Manchester? The change actually started already in preseason, after a couple of days with training under Ten Hag. In an interview, the new manager was asked about Rashford's future and performances and answered, "One of the first things I told Marcus was that he had to show up in training with a smile." Ten Hag and his staff gave the player drills to teach them about the principle of play, but more importantly, gave them joy. Keywords like efficiency, energy, and positivity are central. Rashford also knew from the start that he had something to prove for his new manager, and also understood how Ten Hag leads his team. Discipline is one of the non-negotiables in his leadership style. Those who know the inside of United have said that the manager made it very clear about his expectations before the season, with strict rules on punctuality. Showing up late would have consequences. Rashford broke those rules twice. The latest incident surprised most fans when he was benched away against Wolves. However, Rashford came on and won the game for United, and what could have led to speculations got solved straight away after the game, with Rashford admitting that he had shown up too late and took responsibility for the situation. A big change in humility, in other words. Ten Hag has on several occasions praised Rashford, both for his pace, technique, and balance, but also for his character. The manager has multiple times shown that he treats everyone in the team equally when they break the rules. Even Cristiano Ronaldo found that out when he left early and refused to be subbed on against Tottenham. Ronaldo leaving United has also had a positive impact on Rashford's performance. It's not easy to say why, but Rashford started the season slow when Ronaldo was still part of the team. Only 2 goals in 13 league games didn't impress anyone. His performance after the World Cup and after the Ronaldo exit, however, has been a totally different story. Not only has Rashford started to score every week, his body language looks much more positive. He's a popular personality in the dressing room, and the addition of Casemiro and Eriksen has allegedly influenced him positively. Another positive addition for Rashford has been coach Benni McCarthy. Erik Ten Hag brought in the former Premier League striker and his coaching staff to work with the attackers in the squad. McCarthy quickly became popular among the United players. He started to work with Rashford's strength in a way that made sure he could physically match defenders in duels, to get past them in tight situations. The goals he scored against Wolves is a perfect example of McCarthy's influence. The same can be said about Rashford's heading goals against West Ham and Leeds. The coach worked a lot on headers with the striker, and Ten Hag praised the result in a press conference. Rashford doesn't score a lot of headers, but he is working on improving that. I've challenged him, and he's working hard with the coaches to improve. Rashford is having his best season ever for Manchester United. And how far can he carry United this season? Something that's obvious, he's got a lot to thank Erik Ten Hag for. Ten Hag's impact at United is really starting to show. And if you want to dive deeper in the improvements that the Dutchman has brought to the club, be sure to check out this video next. Thanks for watching.